Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into the race for critical minerals, and specifically why the world needs Africa. The smartphone you're probably holding right now, or the electric car parked down the street, they are at the absolute center of an intense global struggle. You see, as the whole world races to decarbonize, critical minerals have basically become the new strategic assets of our time. So let's jump right in and see what's really happening beneath the surface of this green revolution.
Here is how we're breaking it all down today. First, we'll look at the green mineral shock. Second, Africa's unmatched wealth. Third, China's processing dominance. Fourth, the geopolitical scramble. Fifth, resource nationalism. And finally, we'll wrap up with what a just transition actually looks like.
Section 1. The Green Tech Mineral Shock. Let's start by totally shattering a pretty common misconception about what it actually takes to build a low-carbon future. When we think of green energy, we usually picture clean air and sunshine, right? But the reality is highly material. Producing just one electric vehicle requires 6 times more mineral inputs than your standard gas-powered car. That is an absolute mountain of physical rocks. We're talking lithium, nickel, copper, and cobalt just to replace a traditional engine.
And this material reality applies to the power grid, too. Building an onshore wind plant demands 9 times the mineral resources of a traditional gas-fired plant. Because of this, we're staring down an unprecedented global shock in demand. Just to give you an idea, lithium demand alone could potentially skyrocket 8-fold by 2040.
Section 2. Africa's unmatched mineral wealth. So this massive spike in demand brings us straight to the ultimate prize in this geopolitical race, the continent of Africa. If critical minerals are the new oil, Africa is without a doubt the new Middle East. The continent holds roughly 30% of the world's known critical mineral reserves. The Democratic Republic of Congo alone holds over half of the entire world's cobalt. Gabon is sitting on nearly 48% of global manganese reserves. And natural graphite, which you absolutely need for battery anodes, is abundant across several African nations. The world literally cannot build modern battery technology without these raw materials.
Section 3. China's total processing dominance. But here's the catch. Pulling rocks out of the ground is only half the battle. Honestly, it might even be the easiest part.
The real bottleneck, and where the true global power lies, is in processing. If Africa has all the raw dirt, who actually controls the complex supply chains that turn that dirt into highly purified battery tech? While the data's pretty stark, China has established a massive stranglehold on global refining. They process 92% of the world's rare earths, 96% of its graphite, 80% of cobalt, and 71% of lithium. Thanks to decades of financing mines through initiatives like the Belt and Road, Beijing now has an enormous scale advantage and incredible leverage over the global green tech supply. Section 4. The Geopolitical Scramble. Realizing just how lopsided this supply chain has become, superpowers are frantically scrambling to secure their own strategic interests. It's fascinating to see how the two biggest economic powers are playing this. In 2023, the United States invested roughly $300 million in African critical minerals. But Western capital is often pretty slow, bogged down by heavy compliance and sustainability scrutiny. Meanwhile, China poured in an estimated $8 to $10 billion in fast, basically no-strings-attached capital. Washington is trying to catch up now by rapidly mobilizing loans and grants, but there's a lot of ground to cover.
And it's definitely not just a two-player game. The EU has passed the Critical Raw Materials Act to mandate domestic processing by 2030. Russia has gone a totally different militaristic route, using state-funded entities like the Wagner Group to provide security to African governments in exchange for access to resources. And you also got hydrocarbon-rich nations like Saudi Arabia and the UAE throwing billions into mining to diversify away from oil.
Section 5. The Rise of Resource Nationalism. But amidst all this fierce power competition, African nations aren't just sitting on the sidelines. They know exactly how much leverage they have.
They are employing a highly calculated strategy known as resource nationalism. This isn't the chaotic state takeovers of the past. Instead, governments are strategically tightening legislative and fiscal controls. The goal? To stop simply exporting raw, unrefined dirt and start capturing the much higher profits that come from processing those minerals locally. A perfect example of this is Zimbabwe. They literally just banned the export of raw lithium. So if foreign companies want Zimbabwe's lithium now, they have no choice but to build processing plants right there inside the country. It's a bold, deliberate move to force structural transformation.
Section 6, Building a Just Transition. Which brings us to the ultimate resolution of this global race, the absolute necessity of a just transition.
Because right now, we have to face a pretty heartbreaking paradox. Africa has all the key minerals for the global green transition, plus unparalleled solar and wind potential. Yet, roughly 600 million Africans still lack access to basic modern electricity. Over 1 billion are still cooking over open fires. The continent simply cannot just serve as a battery for the rest of the world while remaining energy poor itself.
To flip the script, African nations are pushing frameworks like the Africa Green Mineral Strategy. This strategy draws a hard line. Foreign partnerships must include infrastructure, technical assistance, and local value addition. The goal is to weave Africa into sustainable industrial supply chains so mining actually sparks broader economic development instead of just extracting value and leaving. I think the Brookings Institution hit the nail on the head with this. Superpowers have to completely shift their mindset. You can't just show up and say, "Give us your minerals" anymore. The only sustainable offer going forward is, let's build the industrial ecosystem together. So, as this high-stakes geopolitical chessboard keeps evolving, it leaves us with one incredibly crucial question. Will this critical mineral boom be the catalyst that finally brings equitable industrialization to Africa? Or will the pressure of the green transition just repeat the extractive, one-sided models of the past? It's a question that defines the future of Africa and, honestly, the sustainability of our entire global green transition. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll catch you on the next one.